Welcome to Story Punk. I am Scott.
I'm Drew.
And today we are here to talk about the Tom Cruise sci-fi action vehicle, Edge of Tomorrow. And that's a good thing.
I love this movie.
No, it's a great movie.
It also has Emily Blunt.
It does have Emily Blunt. I don't want to forget. And the great late Bill, or is it late great Bill Paxton?
Yes, he's excellent in it.
Yes.
And Brendan Gleeson. And then and Tom Hardy's wife, Charlotte Riley. It's very exciting.
Is she?
Yeah, she's the
that's
soldier.
right. She's like yes, I do. I know who you're talking about. Also, Noah Taylor has a very small part in that. He was credited as Dr. Carter, but I don't remember did they call him Doctor? I just remember calling him Carter. I don't remember Dr.
Well, he said he was a doctor. He was like
okay.
An alien biologist or something. And
I thought he was.
He made that device that said,
I
"This is how you connect." And then he's like, "I told them what it was, and then they fired me, and now I'm a mechanic." That kind of thing.
I thought he was. He was a doctor on ER.
How many fingers do I have behind my back?
Are you shitting me?
How many fingers?
2.
No.
Oh.
The one important one.
Gotcha. So, if we are going to talk about the theme of this movie, I say this is my thoughts, is that it was a transformation through adversity and repetition.
You don't want to say anything to our audience about what the movie is or what it's about or anything.
No, I don't. Okay. I don't want to say. I would say it's. Anyway,
I mean, it's one of the classic examples.
Why don't
this movie found its audience later than its release.
That's right. Why don't you? I'm
happy to.
Yes,
if you want.
Please enlighten us about the movie, Drew.
All right. So this is set in the far future time of 2020. The movie came out in 2014. So in 2015, there was an invasion of aliens. A bunch of meteors landed, and these creatures came out. We call them mimics, and they essentially conquered most of the world very quickly. And so in this story, Tom Cruise is a soldier, an officer who used to run an advertising agency, and now he does communications and media, and he's selling the world on the victory they could have with these new, they're called jackets, these exoskeletons they're going to use to fight the aliens. And he runs the wrong way against Brendan Gleeson's general, who's the commander of this defense force that's basically all the countries in the world have come together, and he ends up on the front line, and he is not a soldier that has any combat experience, and it goes poorly for him, and he dies. And then he wakes up, and it happens again. And that's the movie. And it's both simple and about some really satisfying, complex things. And your description of the theme, I think, is, a reasonable distillation of what the movie is about. Although it's a lot more fun than that sounds.
Sure. Yeah, I always have to try to make it sound as boring and dry as possible.
I didn't say it was boring or dry. I mean, if you want to do a middle school book report, I'm not going to tell you not to. But that is what the movie is about.
Well, sometimes that's how I write.
I'm not faulting you, Grandpa.
Whatever. Anyway, I will. You know what I'm going to say though.
What?
Well, we've done this before. No,
I was going to say if you don't like it, we can always do it again.
No, and then that's where Drew pulls out. Drew, why are you holding that gun?
Yeah.
Hey Hans, hey, this is radio, not the movies. Anyway,
Bubby.
Anyway, I do love the opening newscast. I love the whole idea. Once something that we've brought up many times already in our very short time doing this podcast.
Well, this time
of the
this run,
but of the throwing the audience to right into the mix. So we're already talking about a we're a world in in conflict with these mimics, and you have the opening newscast montage. I'm a big fan of the remake of the Zack Snyder, James Gunn remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Love it.
Love that opening credit sequence with all of the newscasts and
the Johnny Cash song.
In the Johnny Cash
Amazing.
song. And I love this sort of this throwing you in there, and all the stuff that's going on. It's sort of like this chaos of these montage of all these different news reports about what's going on, and it's catching up to speed very quickly, and it's also throwing a few other little things that I'll get into about sort of giving you not only the news but also sort of giving you an idea of sort of the how do I put it like the idea of the attitude of the military towards what's going on as well. It's a little subtle, and I didn't notice it till I was watching it the second time, and because I went back and even watched this was the second time I watched it just recently, but then I even watched the opening part again, and I was like, oh, I hear what there's little things that they're kind of sliding in.
This is only the second time you've seen it ever?
There's three times. There's 3 times total, but then I watched the opening sequence, but like I just watched it again. So
Gotcha.
this time when I watched it, it was the third time, and then I watched the opening sequence like again. So I've seen the opening sequence 4 times.
Gotcha. I asked because I think, for a movie that's, spoilers, essentially follows a Groundhog Day type of format where Tom Cruise's character, I almost said Nick Cage, Cage, William Cage, where he relives the same day over and over. This movie I have found is endlessly rewatchable. It's so fun and satisfying and ultimately moving in different ways. It's one of those, if I have to put a short list of movies together that I could just keep watching over and over, not like continuously, but I would be happy to see again. This is on the list, and I hadn't sat down and watched it all the way through in quite a while, and it was really fun to revisit.
It's also the idea of this time loop that we keep experiencing through the movie is also sort of a good metaphor, because we are talking about war. It's sort of that the relentlessness of war. I mean, I feel like we're always, we have peace and then we have war, and it's just like it's a constant. There's this war is just relentless, and so we have this time loop that just keeps persisting, and war keeps persisting, and I feel like as long as you have more than 2 people in the world, it's always a reality that we're facing, and that is so I see the time loop as sort of a metaphor for war itself, and I don't know if you had anything to add to that, but I also do feel like, and this is sort of what I was talking about in the beginning with the montage, I do feel like there's
Do you want me to add anything to that?
I don't know. Do you have something?
I was going, but then you went right into it. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, what I wish that, because I like most people didn't see this in the theater.
Okay, me too.
And I didn't see it in the theater because I had seen Oblivion the year before, and Oblivion looks really cool, but as a sci-fi movie, a big epic sci-fi movie starring Tom Cruise, it was fine. And then this thing was, I think, poorly titled and poorly advertised.
Yes.
And I was like, whatever. And then when I finally saw it at home, I was so sorry I had missed it in the theater. I was so sorry it wasn't a hit movie and everything. And I wish that I didn't know about the Groundhog Day part of it, because it is, I looked exactly, it's a war movie about a coward, which we'll talk about that in a minute, for 24 minutes and 55 seconds. And then he wakes up and you're along with him trying to figure out what's going on. And it remains an excellent war movie, but it's also it's doing its own thing, which I thought was really a nice surprise. And, movies don't really surprise us as much anymore, especially with what the kids call the internet. But it is really economical in the way that it presents everything and gets the story moving. And like you said, with that intro in the beginning and stuff, and it's all feels very real and immediately accessible while still having all these mysteries, which is a nice balance.
One of the things that when I was talking about sort of the theme of like sort of and sorry for my book report speak here, but the transformation through adversity and repetition.
I am greeting you.
Okay. But it reminded me of, so I'll put it in terms that maybe are not as book reporty, is that it reminds me of, and I mean this in a good way, is the hard part of a video game. It's like,
yes.
you're trying to progress because, when you play, if anyone's ever played a video game that's worth a damn, you get to those hard parts of the video game and you keep dying, and then you're trying to figure out, how do I get to the next part? What do I have to do differently? And that's sort of how this is. But there's something very satisfying about that. And
Well, also because in a video game in that situation, usually there's a cheat code, and you can get past it. And this movie, the way this works, there is no cheat code. In fact, there's a way that you can get knocked out of the loop, and really,
Yes.
when everyone loses. But the movie doesn't. The story can't progress past where this character is as a person unless he changes and
Sure.
grows and develops, and it's built into the way that the story plays out.
one of the things I don't want to skip over this one little part that I was talking about in the newscasting montage is there's a little bit of a military critique in them. I shouldn't say a little bit, because you see it throughout Tom Cruise's character, William Cage, is the critique of the military, of sort of the whole idea of propaganda, military propaganda, and this idea of sort of this false heroicism, and because Tom Cruise is he's this military ad man, and there's this little part that I caught on the last time that I watched it, and when they're talking about the jacket technology, which is I can't remember how in depth you just explained it. I
just
literally
said
heard
it's
you,
a powered exoskeleton.
it's but when they're talking about it, and then there's a little line where somebody says, "And the only thing that's missing is you," and I'm like, and that's like sort of like this military recruiting, advertising,
Starship Troopers, it's
yes,
all that stuff. Yeah.
and it's so I kind of feel like that that's an obvious kind of critique of how you're enticing these people to come and basically become I don't know if cannon father, maybe it is cannon father, but you are trying to.
Well, like Starship Troopers, this is a war against aliens that grinds up human soldiers.
Yeah. So
literally.
Yeah. So that's so that was the point I was trying to make, was that if you listen to it, it's because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of like these quick cuts of news reports, and there's like, and then it's just like I hear that part that says the only thing missing is you, and I was like, oh, I see what they're trying to. The point they're trying to make, in addition to having Tom Cruise's character be like this, not fake soldier, but certainly not. He's definitely, this is the theme too about him being a coward,
Okay.
and his sort of his transformation. I do think that the pacing is just. I just love the way that they do the time loops, because I feel like they know just when to switch it up, because it's you're never like, all right, I get it. They know how to just get to the next point when you progress in the story is the point where you're like, okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. And the best part is, without getting too far ahead, is that once we get to the point where you start thinking in your head, okay, well, he's basically immortal, because he'll just keep doing it, because he doesn't, even though he can die, he just starts over, and eventually he's going to figure it out. Similar to like Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray just keeps going, and he's getting lessons, and he's doing all these things, and he's figuring it all out. He can just keep doing that, and then you get to the point where it's like, oh shit, something happens. He gets when you find out that there is something that can happen that can prevent you from continuing to do that.
Right, it'll break the loop, but you don't.
But it's right around the
you
same.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
To break that way.
And
you'll lose.
It's just about the time where I remember, like, I don't know if it was the first or second time I watched, where you're just like, oh well, shit, he's immortal. And as soon as you get to that point, then it's like, oh yeah, well, guess what? There's a little monkey wrench that can get thrown into that's gonna change that whole scenario, and he's not really immortal.
A little mimic wrench.
There you go.
Well, I love On the first time he repeats, so like I said, 25 minutes in the movie, he's died on the battlefield, which is as far as war movies go. I mean, it looks like D-Day or any of these other
Yeah,
giant, and they shot a lot of it, in camera, and those
they
big
did
suits.
35 millimeter too.
Yes,
Oh,
and they
intentionally.
did. Yes, that's right, and they did. These suits weighed anywhere, I believe, from like 40 to 100 pounds. So
Uh-huh.
if you look at the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of them, with them running and everything, they are actually on a wire because it's so heavy. But it all feels very real and full. And even though you see that same scenario over and over, because what happens is they invade France on the beach, again, Saving Private Ryan,
Huh? Yeah.
and they fail, and that's what keeps repeating over and over, is the 24 hours before that started to when he dies on the beach. That's basically the structure of the story of a lot of the movie, as far as what's actually happening. But of course, he's developing and learning and growing each time. But I love how on his first repetition, this guy, who's Tom Cruise, who talks and is very confident, and his mouth got him in trouble. I mean, he literally threatens the general, played by Brendan Gleeson, to where instead of being an officer being sent into combat because everybody is needed in combat, he gets busted down to private and accused of desertion because he runs away from it and gets tased. But on the first time that he wakes up and he's like, I don't understand what's happening, which you would feel as well, as an audience member, he's so quiet and he's so confused. And there's the scene, I think it's when he's about to drop, and the one soldier across from him says, there's something wrong with your suit. There's a dead guy in it.
Uh-huh.
And when you first heard that, the first time that scene went through, you're like, that guy's kind of a dick. That's not cool. And, they don't have any respect for him. And they think he's dangerous, which is why they won't let him even take his safety off his weapons. Tom Cruise just kind of cocks his head at him and looks at him kind of like, I can't believe this. I don't understand it. It's very small, but it feels very real. Like that's what a person would do.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what's happening, but this is clearly happening. And as he learns different things, he has to get past that disbelief. Even as he starts to meet characters like Emily Blunt's character, who I know we'll talk about in a little bit, who knows exactly what's going on and has many of the answers for him. And I just love that in this giant sci-fi war movie that there's a lot of human feeling reality to the
Yes.
characters.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's the thing too, is that he is. I mean, I know he's Tom Cruise, and I feel like the beginning part of the movie, he is not playing his typical Tom Cruise character.
Right, he's a coward.
He is definitely a
He's
coward.
he's not Maverick.
He said he's like, I can't remember the exact words, but he's sort of like, he was like, I was hoping that I because he's like, are you going to be in like wherever the area was? He goes, oh, you mean the front lines?
Right, yeah. I was like, I don't do that.
I goes, yeah. I was like, I was hoping to be like not near the front lines.
Right.
And that is so that is kind of refreshing, and I do love, and it's just so with the time loop and the way that he progresses and the way that he learns, it just lends itself, this type of story just sort of lends itself to a, it's a really great way to show character growth, because you are like, you really have no choice, because you cannot progress. He can, that there is, he dies in the very first part, the first section, and he dies. He doesn't know what to do. He's like dying right there on the beach, and so he has no choice but to figure out to get further.
Yeah, he's constantly
alone.
out of his depth.
Yeah, so he has to figure it out. He's left no choice. So you have this coward who is, probably, like you said, he was ROTC, so that probably helped him get further up the chain when he, first, is active duty. And
Well, it's a world war, and clearly they need all hands on deck, and clearly a lot of people are dying, but he's not one of those people that's going to die. Like, that's ridiculous. He can't do that.
yeah, so he's he's a handsome guy, and they're like, oh, this is a good face for TV.
Yeah.
And
And he's an ad guy and a douchebag, and I can attest personally that that's not an unrealistic thing you'll find in that industry. It's not everyone, but it's not uncommon. And he's very impressed with himself and thinks he has all the answers. And it turns out he does not.
Yeah, and I do like this idea of time loop, and I know this is something that we before we recorded, we talked about just via text the other day about how time loops have become almost their own genre at this point. I was just going over and not to discuss too much about them because these are things that we could talk about on their own episodes, but you have sort of like what they call the goat of time, your time loops. You have Groundhog Day. And also you have like movies that have like short loops and long loops. So you have something like Groundhog Day, which is you're constantly living over the same day, and it's sort of like a fast sort of repetition of something happened, they die, and then right the next day. There's also, if you ever saw, there's the Happy Death Day.
Yes, that's on my list. Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You.
Yes.
They're both excellent.
There is another one. There's this movie that I'm interested to see, Boss Level. Have you ever heard of that one with Frank Grillo?
Yes, I've seen it, and it's a lot of fun. It does have noted anti-Semite Mel Gibson in it.
Does it?
But that didn't put me off of watching it because I mean, I don't care about him as a person, but Frank Grillo is great.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's nasty. And what's nice about these kinds of movies, which is funny because they are about essentially the possibility of endless time.
Yeah.
None of them are 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And they
that
move.
is interesting. That's like, have you ever seen the movie, the low budget movie Primer?
Yeah, sure.
That's because what I like about that one is that it's not like an intentional like loop. It's they're creating their own loops because they discover time travel by accident,
Right.
Go back in time, keep screwing up, and they keep going back,
Right.
And they go back and back. They're trying to fix it, and they keep making things worse,
Right. And that's a movie that, because I think it's easy for a lot of people there's a line, so people, I think, conflate these two things. There's time travel movies and there's time loop movies.
Yeah.
And Primer really is in a totally, cool way on that line.
Mm-hmm.
So like this isn't as simple as I got to go back in time to fix the mistake. Like I'm Marty McFly. I know, great movies. Well, two of them. And he's got to go back in time and fix things that happened that changed the future. And he learns a lot of things about his family and all these other things. These movies you get stuck in the same loop over and over. And some of them explain it in different ways. And some of them, like, they don't explain the mechanism in Groundhog Day in any way that I can remember. And who cares? But he has a goal, which is make Andy McDowell fall in love with me. And I hope that I'll wake up the next day and it will be a new day. But my favorites of those kind of movies, I love Source Code.
Okay.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And that is actually a really intense action movie and sad. The Happy Death Day movies are horror movies, they're slasher movies. Also, that does a nice thing with the sequel. They keep talking about making a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow. I really have no feeling that that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But Happy Death Day to You is really good because it actually does the thing that's hard for sequels to do, is it expands the world in a way that you could, maybe they did, but you could believe that they knew that when they wrote the first one. And it makes the first one even better and richer, which is pretty rare. And then Run Lola Run, of course, is a classic one. Yes. Triangle is a really nasty, low budget horror movie one. And then more recently, I guess over COVID, Palm Springs came out with Andy Samberg and Christine Milioti and I think J.K. Simmons. And I love that. I mean, I get why these are compelling. Who wouldn't want the chance to fix something, to fix a mistake, to have more than one try at something crucial? It does sound really exhausting because literally every moment can be or turns out to be a crucial turning point, which is true in Edge of Tomorrow. But I like how it's one of those things, it crosses these genres.
Yeah.
And that's cool because there are funny ones and horror ones and action ones. And this movie, I will say, this movie is very funny.
Yeah.
There's some very funny things in this movie. So this is an action movie and a sci-fi movie, and it also has, you know, a real personality to it, and it includes real humor and surprises.
Yeah, there was even some like TV shows that like they had. There was the show Russian Doll, which is actually the whole series is based on looping.
Yeah, great show.
And then actually one of there's a Doctor Who episode which is actually considered it's considered like one of like the best episodes of Doctor Who. It's called Heaven Sent, where he is actually stuck in a castle, reliving the same day over and over. He's trying to solve a mystery, and it's literally for eons.
Which Doctor is it?
It's Peter Capaldi's Doctor.
Okay.
It's from season 9, episode 11.
Gotcha.
And he has to literally for eons trying to solve this mystery, living the same day over and over again. And so it's definitely a fun sort of it can be a fun convention for a episode of a show, or you know, base a whole show on it, or the movies. There's Looper is now that's a little bit different.
Another Emily Blunt.
No, yeah,
Time travel movie.
How did I forget that she was in that? That's sort of like what I call like the long loop. You're not even really seeing some of the loops because there's things that are happening, like with scars on the arm, stuff like that, and you're not really seeing.
Yeah, there's lots of
but,
great time travel movies like that. Like Frequency is the dad version of that, and that's really a satisfying one.
So
the Dennis Quaid, Jim Caviezel movie.
Oh yeah, I know.
My mom got murdered, but maybe I can save her, which is different than something like 12 Monkeys as a time travel movie, because 12 Monkeys, he can't change the future. Yeah. There's one future and it's faded. So people can go back in time and try to figure out what started this virus, what happened.
Yeah.
You know, who are these terrorists that seem to have started it, and can we cure the virus and come back to the surface of the earth? But they can't change the fact that there was a virus. And this movie, one question I have, which I don't like, the answer to it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of like an extra thing when you think about a movie that gets in your head in a good way. Every time he dies, do these timelines that he died in continue? Now, they would all continue in that we would all be killed by the mimics. But there are a couple of times where he dies and then you still see characters afterwards. Yeah. Like the biggest example is when he rolls under the truck to try to get away and gets run over. Yeah. And Bill Paxton's character, Master Sergeant Farrell, is like, what is wrong with that guy, kind of thing. And then sometimes Emily Blunt will shoot him, or Emily Blunt will see him die because he got hit in training, and he's like, you have to duck, but he's already dead. Yeah, kind of thing. So it makes you wonder, like, what continues, because in theory that should all vanish and reset. Again, I don't really care if they continue or not. I just think it's interesting enough that I can see her being exasperated by his poor choices as she's trying to train him, and it makes me wonder, like, is there another version of that? But again, they all end up with the mimics winning.
I mean, I think what's like to sort of your point, like whether or not it even matters. It reminds me of that there's a diner scene in Looper where it's like, I think oh my god, I just lost it. The younger Bruce Willis.
You talking about the actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. How did I forget that name? He wants to understand.
It's an extra name usually.
He wants to understand how like the looping thing all works. Mm-hmm. And Bruce Willis is like, I don't have time to explain all this to you. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, and it's like, I love that, because it's like sometimes that's not the important part of the story. And I think that's sometimes you don't need to know. Sometimes I don't want to know all that. I mean, it's like you think you want to know, and then somebody starts explaining it, and you're like, oh wow, I really didn't want to know how this worked.
Well, yeah, it's like listening to Christopher Nolan talk about Tenet, which is a very frustrating time travel movie.
I don't even. Honestly,
even he'll say, like, you're not supposed to understand all of it. I'm like, well, then why did you make it so complicated that I feel like I can't understand the movie if I don't know how this works? To be honest,
I don't even like it when he tries to explain Memento. I'm like, I get Memento. Please, you don't need to. You don't
I don't.
He pulls out the marker on the whiteboard, and I'm like, dude, I get it.
I don't. Cool. I don't like that movie anyway.
But anyway. But as far as
well, I'm sorry. There's one other kind of loop I wanted to mention. It's a book to probably make a movie or series of it someday, and I would recommend it. It's interesting. It's called The First 15 Lives of Harry August.
Okay.
And so Harry August is born, he lives a whole life, he dies, and then he's born again at the same time to the same family, to the same parents. The difference is he knows that it's again. And each life is different, and the world is different as the people he encounters. Like it's certain things like technology, some stuff appears earlier because he was involved in the science behind it. And the last time, and he meets somebody sooner, and they do different things. It's very dark, but each cycle moves forward what we know and what the main character knows. And that's the mechanic of all of these loops. But I think, again, it's interesting that you can do it at a kind of any time scale that you want.
I mean, but is that more of an alternate reality than a time loop?
It's not, because it's the same life over and over. He has free will in each life, but maybe he lives from 1900 to 1960, and then he dies. And he could, in theory, could die at any time. He could die in a car crash in 1930 or whatever, and then he's born again in 1900 in the same circumstances, but now he lived to 1987. But every time that he dies, the world that he's in keeps changing. Him reliving and returning to the same point to relive his life resets the whole world, but the whole world can be different. And it's interesting. It's a good book.
Yeah, because I read this book about where it was a guy. It was like the 15 murders of, and it was some woman's name, but basically it was about a woman that somebody was going through different realities, murdering. It was the same one, but she was different in every reality.
Okay.
That was more of an alternate reality than a time looping. Was there anything else as far as time loops as a story device?
No, it's just, I mean, if I think of the best examples of it in movies, many of which I mentioned that I like, I think Groundhog Day and this.
Yeah. So when it comes to like Tom Cruise's William Cage character, I like that idea that he sort of like he earns his heroicism. He starts off. This is something we were saying before. He was he's very obviously a coward, and through the time loop device, it feels very authentic to see him as he's trying over and over again. And I put a little note here about he stole my thunder. No, on the truck. He rolls under the truck. That's just one example of him rolling under the truck and getting squished.
Well, as Sergeant Farrell says, there's no courage without fear.
Yeah.
And he has to transform, and he does.
He does.
It's satisfying.
Because I feel like the William Cage character is deceptively complex, because he just seems like on the surface just seems like he's like you said, he's sort of this shitty douchebag guy, but then he becomes like this skilled hero, because once we get into the meat of the movie and then he's just like running around, I love when we get to the point, because it goes from he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Like in the beginning, he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to. He's like very nervous, and then we get to the point where he's like, you don't wear a helmet, and he's like, I never do. And
Right.
and I love that. That's such a great transformation, where he just goes from like he doesn't know how to reload, he doesn't know how to turn the safety. That's the big thing in that scene, is he doesn't know how to turn the safety off, and he's so afraid before that first drop. Like, I don't know how to turn the safety. I don't know how to turn the safety off, and then
They won't tell him.
and then nobody will tell him, and to the point of he just drops it. He doesn't even put a helmet on, and he's like, I never put a helmet on.
Well, what I like the wrinkle that they put on that, what you're saying as well, because that's of course one of the main satisfactions of the movie. First of all, the editing in this movie is excellent, like just really fantastic.
Yes.
And one of my favorite sequences. I mean, I love the whole sequence where he's learning, and he keeps getting shot. There's the way that he, again, it keeps taking you back to the same beach and the same event. So when he first dies, he's with this J Squad that he's just met for the first time, and they're caught in a foxhole, as clearly they were expected, and this battle is going poorly, and then a mimic comes out of the ground and attacks them and throws them around and is killing them. So at a certain point, he keeps learning how to fight.
Yeah.
So it cuts from him like in training, arguing with Emily Blunt. There's a smash cut to all of a sudden he's on the battlefield and he's running and he saves them.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's that guy's name again? You know, that whole sequence.
Yeah.
And it's super satisfying, except so you know, he's a hero. He fought, he saved them, even though it doesn't matter because they're going to die or not again tomorrow. But he then becomes a hopeless, stuck hero more than once. He's like, it doesn't matter. We can't get off the beach.
Yeah.
I can't find the Omega. I can't do the next
I know,
step.
yeah, he
It's the
becomes-
hard video game battle.
Yeah.
So he becomes
He goes from being he becomes like the guy that's like who's done it forever. Is like, fuck it, we can't. You know, it doesn't matter anymore.
right. And he learned how to do it. He learned how to be a
Like
warrior.
in the farmhouse.
Well, that's the other kind of way that he
Yeah.
gets stuck is
Yeah.
because he cares about Emily
Yeah.
Blunt and he doesn't want her to die, and he's tired of watching her die over and over. Because it's not like
Yeah.
she dies because they got old and then she got sick and then she closed her eyes. I mean, it's a violent, terrible death every time, over and over and over, and he gets stuck in that place. And then you see him change from a coward to a warrior to someone who is lost. And we don't know in this movie. I want to say somebody counted it, like you can see like 60 times he resets. It's clearly more than that.
Yeah.
And it may be more than that. And she had a similar experience when because she's the one who knows what's going on. Rita Vertasky, we haven't talked about her, the Angel of Verdun. She won this epic victory over the Mimics, which led the humans to plan this big assault on Europe to win, which of course the whole thing is a trap. Because she had the ability to reset time, and she figured out what the words. Because the way in the movie that they use that is not to say I'm going to change this in this scene. It's to say I know what's going to happen, and I'll be ready.
Yeah.
So when they're on the beach, they keep cutting back and forth between what's happening on the beach and what he's, you know, and then with them fighting together and how he's telling her, like, you have to step right and then you wait a second and then you do this, because they do it over and over. So the mimics are so fast, you'll know what to do so you can kill them. And in the movie, when he gets stuck, it again, like I said, it's like the video game kind of thing where it's a really hard level and how do I get past this boss and that kind of thing. But he can't save her.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you wonder, like, is he just going to get obsessed with saving her instead of the world?
Yeah.
No, he wants to do both. He tells her at the farmhouse, "Why don't you just stay? There's food in the basement. You know, you're kind of hurt. You can take it easy." And he's going to go on and you know, follow his vision and find the Omega in that dam in Germany or Austria or wherever he ends up.
Watch your language.
And of course, that's a trap. Also,
Yeah.
because the whole thing that sets the movie in motion is he gets killed by a specific kind of mimic called an alpha that works very closely with the Omega, which is the brain, looks like a brain too, behind all of it. And so that's when he essentially steals the aliens' power to reset the day. And the fact that they can reset the day is why they keep winning, because they can reset the day whenever they want. So they can fight the battle and fight the battle and fight the battle. And then, you know, they know exactly how to win, so they do.
Yeah.
And, of course, we only lose the battle the one time.
Well, one of the things that I would bring up about the Emily Blunt, Rita, is that I do like the fact, I feel like it's a little bit of a gender role reversal as the mentor, because I feel like this would be typically in Hollywood, you would see this would be played by an older male that would be playing like the mentor to teach him, you know, how to navigate this world. And so it's, you know, it's kind of refreshing to see this being played by, you know, a woman taking on that type of character that has the experience, that has the knowledge that he's going to need to get him to, you know, the next level, or to, you know, to further, you know, get further on the story. And,
let me talk about that, because
Sure.
I love Emily Blunt. She's a wonderful actress. She seems like a lot of fun when I see her, you know, promoting these things on talk shows and whatever. And she apparently years ago, and this came up when they were promoting this movie, she said in an interview or something, she would rather do badly paid theater for the rest of her life than ever accept a role as a spear carrier in a Tom Cruise movie.
Uh-huh.
And then she's in a giant Tom Cruise action movie.
Uh-huh.
Except he's kind of her spear carrier
Uh-huh.
because, as you said, she's the experienced veteran. She's the true
Yeah.
warrior, all that kind of stuff. And there is definitely a romantic angle as these two people get to know each other and go through all these things, even though he's going through it over and over and over and she's not. Because that's another thing she says much later in the movie. She mentions someone called Hendrix that she doesn't want to talk about, and it turns out that's who she saw die over and over. She said, I've seen him die 300 times. I don't want to talk about it. I remember every one, that kind of stuff. So it gives you even a little bit more insight into what Tom Cruise's character is facing. But I love the idea that she, as an actress, she forgot that, and an interviewer pointed it out to her. She's like, "Oh my God, that's awful." And then the interviewer, I think it was in the Telegraph or Vanity Fair or something, and then the interviewer said something like, "Well, really, he's your spear carrier," which is
Yeah.
kind of what the truth is. But I like even the romance, the way that plays out. It's just not a big part of it. It's just the people
Yeah.
that care about each other in this fight, and so they kiss. But that makes the ending, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to me so satisfying and
Yeah.
so wonderful.
So one character I will talk about just briefly is the Noah Taylor's Carter character, who I felt like he was sort of the
Dr. Carter.
Dr. Carter. Excuse me. I was thinking. Okay. So he's our heavy exposition character. He's going to give us all that information about the Alpha and Omega, and I mean, honestly, I feel like if I was going to nitpick, he'd be the one character I'd be like, I wish they would have done something more with him. I mean, he serves a purpose and he's fine. I mean, I would say, and I would definitely say this. I would classify this as a nitpick. I wish there was a little more to that character, or I felt like for me, viewing that character, it just felt very much like he just was there for nothing more than just to say, hey, this is what happened. This is what the Alpha and to explain, to be exposition, and that was sort of it, and that's fine.
Well, if they make a sequel, which I will call Edge of Tomorrow, maybe
Nice.
maybe they'll do more with his character
Maybe.
because he is the scientist that knows the most about these
Yeah.
these mimics. He's the person who figured out what was happening to Rita when it was happening to her, and his part of his whole thing is nobody believes me.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason that Tom Cruise believes him is because he's living it and it doesn't understand what's happening. And
Sure.
then when they explain what's happening, you're right. It's very functional.
Yeah.
It's a very functional purpose, which because the movie decided to use him that way, I don't know what they would do with him more.
Yeah.
The script is so tight anyway. I don't know that there's nothing I need him to do more. And he does give us some of the best examples of Tom Cruise repeatedly doing the same thing. Where he's like, yes, we located where the Omega is. Yes, we found him. I can't get off the beach. I can't get to the Omega because he's getting frustrated doing the same thing over and over. And the doctor, Noah Taylor, sells the mystery and the wonder. Like the first time they meet him, he's like, "Is this the first time we're having this conversation?" That kind of stuff.
I
It's well
almost
done.
wish it would have been one of the other characters we had already met, because it kind of felt like, to me, like I said, once again, fully admitting that this is sort of a nitpick, where it was sort of like, okay, here we're introducing this character to explain things to you. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me. But it's definitely a nitpick. It wasn't terrible. I've seen much clunkier introductions and exposition dumps than this one. This was not terrible by any means. It's just just my one nitpick about the movie. But other than that, I thought it was
You're
fine.
entitled to nitpick whatever you want. Even
You're
when
damn right. And that's why we have this cop.
Even when you're wrong. Even when you're wrong.
I'm never wrong.
You're wrong about that too. It's
Of course.
exciting.
There you go. It's very exciting. This is why we have the podcast. As far as how the structure is laid out of this, I did feel like the up until the point that we get to sort of like into the third act, where they get into the car accident, he has to get the blood transfusion.
When he loses the power.
He
Yes.
loses the power. For me, when I watch that, I kind of like that part of the movie always is in my memory is always murky, and I don't know why. I just feel like for some reason,
I know why. Because you haven't seen it 30 times.
well,
That's, I mean,
maybe.
the movie, you get to know what his day is. You see different parts of different days, but you get to know every part of his day over and over. And when you see something for the first time, like when the guys from J Squad try to beat him up
Yeah,
because they got all the push-ups, and it's clearly not his first time. When you get to the point, like it's very upsetting when he passes out in that car and he wakes up and you see the IV. It's very jarring
yeah.
because, like him, you don't have any idea what's going to happen next. But odds are it's going to be really bad for everyone. So I think that part of why you don't remember it is because if you've seen the movie, 5 times, you haven't seen that part 50 times like you
Okay.
have the rest of the movie. To me, that's part of why it's effective because
I mean,
my
yeah,
stomach dropped when I realized he wasn't dead.
yeah, and it's sort of like that. There's that, but did you feel like, see, and this is the question to me is it that I don't know, for some reason it just starts to feel different. I mean, obviously we're not looping anymore at that point, but
Right.
there's something that I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't feel like it. I don't know. I just feel like there's something kind of missing, and I don't know. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's because maybe it is. Maybe you're right. It's because we're kind of trained at that point. Like maybe it's because the first, like 2/3 of the movie you're is so effective at getting you to the point where it's like, okay, I got this down, and now we're moving on. We're moving on to we're progressing at this point because I understand this part, and before it gets boring, boom, we're on to the next thing. Boom,
Right.
it's like it's snappy.
Yeah.
And I don't really get into it, so maybe that's what it is. But there is something that just feels, I don't know. It's almost like I kind of felt like at the end, even though it is exciting what's going on, and that last little final like battle at the end there, I just was like, I don't know. I just something just it just feels different to me.
Well, and it is different. The tone
Well,
is different. The permanence of the decisions is different. You've been
you would think
getting
that,
to know J Squad the whole movie,
but
and
you would
then
think I'd be more anxious, and I felt less
well, you
anxious.
felt distance.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what it is, and so and not that a movie, the movie as a whole, loved it, great, but I don't know, there is something that just like it just felt like I said, yeah, 'cause, yeah, that's probably what you said, that nails it. I did feel a little bit more distance than I did with the rest of the movie, but
I mean,
still good.
it is a different feeling. I
Yeah.
remember when I first saw it. I experienced what felt like the lowest point, which is basically we're in real trouble because we can't reset. But then it is a different tone, and he has to deal with everybody who doesn't know who he is, because then they haven't met him yet.
Uh-huh.
Remember, he has to go see J Squad, and he's like, it hasn't been the next morning when I get introduced to you, and I know about card games being hidden, and I know who you are. Except he does know who they are, and he convinces them, and I believe that they convince him. But the mechanic of the movie and the way that has to play out is so different. Maybe it just kind of caught you off guard.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that could be what it is. But I feel like it was just, yeah, like I said, it was just a little different, but it's like still definitely good. But I just think it was. I don't think it's definitely not a reflection on. I feel like it was paced out well, and the editing was done well, and I just think the time loop just. I think it kind of, when it's done right, it really feels, it's very satisfying.
Well, sure. Did you ever read the book?
I have not.
It's
Is it a book or is it a short story?
it's a book that was then
Or
also
a
made
novella.
into a manga, and
Okay.
a lot. I think in the West, more people may know it from the manga and the depictions of the mimics, which are quite different in the movie versus the manga. In the manga, they're like orbs with giant mouths and all these nasty teeth and parts that come out of them and stuff.
Yeah.
But The book is called All You Need Is Kill.
Yes.
Edge of Tomorrow is not a great title.
No.
The tagline was Live, Die, Repeat, and then Warner Brothers rebranded that
Honestly,
as the title.
I kind of like that one.
Live, Die, Repeat is a better title
Yeah.
than Edge of Tomorrow.
Definitely.
The title of the book is certainly more striking, but I guess the studio didn't like it, and that's All You Need Is Kill.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of those are the right title.
Uh-huh.
But the book is actually when I read it after I saw the movie. It was more similar than I expected. I mean, it's set where the end of the war is in Japan instead of in Europe, and the characters are a Japanese soldier who's the Tom Cruise role, who's a much younger guy, and the Rita Vertasky character, Rita, is actually an American Special Forces person, so she's a much greater warrior and all those kind of things. But a lot of it is similar, and a lot of it feels similar. Although the mechanism of resetting time is different. Like it's a whole explanation about how you get like tachyon time particles on you from the alien, from the alpha, and then that gives you the ability to reset time. And there's more explanation. And also, there's an implication that the more of that stuff you get on you, the more you can control time within the loop.
I like that.
That's interesting, but it's much more explanation, and I wasn't missing that in the movie. It just it's fine.
That would have been really hard to get that.
Well, it doesn't in the movie, which needs to be like simpler in some ways. It doesn't need that.
Sure.
I don't need to discover that Tom Cruise can actually move faster in time, and that's why he dodged that punch. No, he keeps doing it over and over, so he learns, he remembers, and that's enough for me. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to talk about the ending, because the ending was actually pretty controversial with people who even liked the movie. I'm talking about the very end, when he succeeds in killing the Omega, and he blows up the Alpha that's chasing him because it's killing him. And just as he dies, just as he did the first time, the Alpha's blood gets on him, which we know the Alpha blood gives him the power.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up the day before, at least 24 hours before, when he keeps waking up and getting called a maggot and getting drawn into the story each time. He wakes up and nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows what happened.
Yeah.
They show a speech from the general, which I think is really well done, because it's a fragment of a speech of him saying there was this big pulse of energy and the enemy forces just stopped.
Yeah.
They just stopped fighting. And the people that he's watching it with, like he's sort of working his way through this group of people in an office to see this on the screen, they're all smiling. And you get this sense of, like, oh, wow, this is over after 5 years, like VE Day or something.
Yeah.
But the very end of the movie, he goes to find Rita.
Yes, okay.
And he walks down, and we've seen this many times where she trains, where she does all this stuff. A lot of the stories, action scenes and humor and their relationship develops in that area. And unlike the last time, when he walks past the other people in her unit, some of them are already in their jackets, they snap to attention. Whereas the first time that he met her, they kind of followed her, like, who is this guy? Why is he bothering her, kind of stuff. And he goes and he sees her, and she does the same thing. She's doing that yoga move, which her husband, John Krasinski, said, what's funny is that my wife can actually do that yoga position, but they had to use cables because she can't do it for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So she stands up with that same haughty, clipped voice. And different times in the movie, she said, have I got something on my face? Who said you could talk to me?
Yeah.
And she responds in that same tone, and she's staring at him, and it cuts back to Tom Cruise. And he's this little, like, he's already smiling because she's not dead. Because he watched her die for real the last time when they were destroying it. And then he kind of laughs, and it smash cuts to the song. I don't know. I just love it. It's just sweet and funny. And if that sets up some kind of sequel for people, I don't feel it. I don't care. That's the ending, because he's going to sit down with her and say, this is what happened, and she's the only person that will.
The longer I explain it to you, the more it'll make sense.
Well, but she's the only person who knows what he went through because she went through it, and like he won't have to be alone with it. Because the other part of the ending, there's something very compelling to me personally when there's something like he's the reason they won. They won this great victory, and nobody knows. He's the only one that knows. And he could tell people, and only one person in the world, maybe two with Dr. Carter, will actually believe him that that's what happened. But it's it. The other thing that really, one of the more tragic versions of it is when someone saves the day and they don't know.
Yeah.
Like they don't themselves remember. And my example, I have two examples of that, also from Doctor Who. The Doctor's companion, Donna, there's a whole at a certain point, companions start to recur across doctors and stuff.
Yeah.
She is essentially able to save everyone, but she has to pay the cost of her own memory. So then she's just this
I do
person
that.
again. She's just
Really like that.
Donna, and she doesn't know, and other people know, and her family knows, and her grandfather, who's a great character in the series, he knows. But like Donna's just sort of the same. Like I don't do anything important. I don't care anything important. I just want to meet a nice man who puts up with me, kind of nonsense. And the other example is yesterday's Enterprise, which is a Star Trek Next Generation episode where they go through a time warp and they end up finding a version of the universe where they've been at war with the Romulans, and Tasha Yar, played by Denise Crosby, is not dead as she died in the series, and they kind of have to figure out like how do we get back home and how do we do this and can we save them and all this kind of stuff, and ultimately they can't, and then it goes back to normal and nobody knows what happened except us. We know the heroism that they went through, and so for for Tom Cruise's character to be the only one that knows what happened, but we know he can share it. And we know that there can be some kind of future for these two who obviously care a lot about each other some way or another, even though only one of them remembers it. I don't know. I love it. And some people got confused by the mechanic of how did it reset and when did it reset and all this kind of stuff. And can he just reset it again? And I guess so, but also I don't care.
Yeah.
It just was very satisfying.
No, I hear you. I'm not. Can I say one other thing about her character? The character of Rita, I feel like that the way a lot of characters, female, the idea of a strong female character is that it's a single note angry woman, and
You mean if it's like a tough character type of thing?
Yeah, and she's always angry, and I'm like, and I feel like I appreciate that they didn't do that. Like I mean, you can have a strong female character be angry, but I feel like sometimes they just make her angry all the time.
Yeah, no, she's
and it's
way
like,
more
and it's
than
like,
that.
and I'm like that because I feel like you see her be vulnerable in certain scenes. She's very.
You see her hide that vulnerability.
Yes, very. She's very, very layered, and I just, and I'm like, and you appreciate that, that, it's like there's more to people that just you don't have to project strength through just being angry, and that was one of the things I did appreciate about her character. Can I bring up something about sort of, and it's kind of interesting since it is a more recent movie. I mean, well, I guess it's been 10 years now, or a little over 10 years now at this point. But sometimes I like to bring up era-specific context because we talked about that with The Thing. But I feel like we are at the point now where we do tend to be very cynical about military propaganda. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is sort of, at least indirectly, maybe directly in some ways.
He's a propagandist.
Yes, and and that was the thing I brought up, and I brought it up earlier, but
yes.
Something that I had written about, in that advertisement when they're talking about the jacket technology, and the only thing that's missing is you, and that I feel like that we are, this whole idea of earned heroism versus this manufactured military propaganda. And I feel like this is sort of a reflection on where we've sort of progressed as a society now, where we're not like, it was so weird where it was like, World War II, Korean War, were, very, it was, celebrate people that go and fight our wars overseas. Then it was like Vietnam, exact opposite. Then we have like a 2-day Gulf War, and it was like, and then we tried to compensate. It was like, I mean, yes, respectful, these people had to go over and fight a war, but geez, like I feel like I feel like we almost went a little overboard, and I feel like we're just now kind of at a place where we're like, just as a nation, I think we're very cynical about like, or I shouldn't say we're cynical. No matter where you fall on how you feel about the military, because even if you're the most ardent supporter of the military, if maybe you don't necessarily like who's in the White House, if it's a military action that's sent by someone that you don't particularly care for, you might be very critical of it, even if you are a supporter of the military. And I feel like this is something that we're just, as a society, we are a lot more critical or even skeptical of our military's motivations, and I feel like it's reflected a little bit here by having sort of like this person who is a pretty boy mouthpiece for the military, who is he isn't just we're not just saying, oh, this guy he's a brave soldier. No, he's not a brave soldier. He's a coward. Now he earns his, hero status, but we get to see that journey, and then we can say, and then we finally can say, yes, okay, he's earned it now. But at the beginning, he is someone who is probably thinks he should be respected just because he puts on a uniform, and I think that we are at a point right now that we don't we question that a lot more than we used to.
Well, also I think it matters what you're fighting for.
Uh-huh.
It matters who you're fighting for. Yes, you're fighting for the people next to you, but you're all fighting together against something.
Sure.
And then the other thing is, and it's a movie, which there's a certain element of wish fulfillment to movies anyway. There's no question in this movie that their cause is just.
Sure.
So you don't really have to wrestle with that part of it.
Sure.
You can, though, see a realistic thing like you picked up with, It's Just Missing Is You. That's very Starship Troopers, which is, of course, a whole movie about people who are lied to get drawn into a war machine in the fascist world. So obviously no one can relate to that these days. But I think that's part of what makes it a little bit less, which is fine, a compelling example of a war movie and more of a science fiction action movie.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Now, I do have one criticism of the movie.
Sure.
And I do.
I was going to kind of move into sort of like our assessment of the movie as a whole.
And I love this movie, and what I'm about to say is a very important part of any movie, and I love it. And the fact that it doesn't really have it in this movie does not ruin it for me. There's nothing really exciting about the score. It doesn't stink, but except for a couple of themes, which are very powerful and very memorable.
What they play at the end, like the end theme, but they play actually over the credits. I do like that one.
You mean after the song ends? And
yes.
And that's a distillation of what they use. But like the music when you see Rita Vertasky and her troops marching out of the dropship so that she can punch the character who almost calls her a Full Metal bitch and then doesn't get to say bitch because she punches him. That's actually, I just learned from you, it's her brother in real life, which is funny. There's nothing super memorable about the score, which kind of normally in most movies would detract, like it would lose real points for me. And it just doesn't. I don't know. I found the rest of the movie so exciting, but that was a little disappointing because I love listening to movie music anyway. So this is not, and Christoph Beck is not a terrible composer or anything. He's done a lot of stuff that's good in TV and movies. But this one, it just didn't quite hit. And this is this is directed by Doug Liman, who's done a lot of good movies. And it's written by Jez Butterworth and Christopher McQuarrie. And Christopher McQuarrie and Doug Liman are both now at this point long-term Tom Cruise creative collaborators. Christopher McQuarrie is the guy behind the now last 4 Mission Impossible movies, with Tom Cruise directing and writing them. And so these are people who everybody knows what they're doing.
Sure.
But even the Mission Impossible movies that they've done together, they all have, except for 2 of them, they have different composers. And this movie could have had even a little more distinct personality with a score that really hits.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, I mean that would be. I didn't really think of it, and I think it's because it didn't really stand out.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't notice that anyway. And if you weren't,
I
know
do.
you do, and I do. If
I
you
do.
weren't a person who didn't notice it, you really wouldn't.
But
miss
it's funny
anything.
because you said that, because I remember there's that one part, and I actually have that. I downloaded that years ago. There is I do have one piece of the score on my phone, and that is and that was the one part I remember, and that's it. But sort of like
I could start singing it, but why don't you just cut it in here?
yeah, it may even find its way at the end of the podcast.
Good job.
This is my ASMR voice. Anyway, so but I
we
honestly
can do a whole
I
ASMR
would think,
episode if you want.
no, thank you. And I would say stop. No, oh please don't. That's like, oh, I hate that. So I would say that. I mean, honestly, the only thing I would say is that some of the supporting characters I wish were a little bit stronger. I mean, obviously, Bill Paxton, great. Brendan Gleeson, he's good too. But I mean, the other ones, like all like the J Squad, it was like, they were fine, but they nobody really like stood out too much except for the big guy that gets crushed in the beginning multiple times.
Yeah.
And then he eventually saves.
He saves, and then later he doesn't save. He just walks past. He knows what's going to happen, because what's the point of doing it again? I thought they were drawn well enough, and they certainly follow some of the stereotypes of a World War II movie and the different types of people.
That was fine, but I mean overall.
But by the time you get to the end, when there's real heroism, I was sold on it. When those 2 guys are trying to buy time for them and end up blowing up next to the fuel truck.
Yeah,
and the one guy could have left, but he stays with his.
I mean, that's
enough
true.
For me.
I do feel like it. Yeah, I feel like they do come on best at the very end. But I feel like that's sort of like when they're all allowed to, because so much of it is dominated by the time looping story of Tom Cruise, which, as rightly it should be, because it's his movie.
Yeah.
So I would say that overall, I was it's definitely a good movie and a good recommend. But
do you have any favorite lines in the movie?
I'm getting right. You have.
Sorry.
No, that's actually a perfect segue into that. So that's what I was going to go into. Some our little final questions here. Most memorable or rewatchable scenes. Memorable quotes or rewatchable scenes. My favorite quote is, he asked if he was American, and Bill Paxton says, "No, sir, I'm from Kentucky."
That's a good one.
I love that.
I like that one.
Did you have any?
Yeah, it's a small scene. It's a great example of the tension and the humor coming together, and it's very Tom Cruise in its delivery. When he first is told, with the holograms and everything, by Emily Blunt and Noah Taylor's characters, this is what's happening. Mm-hmm. This is what the Omega is, all this kind of stuff. And he's like, okay, so how do I control it? And then they look at him and she goes, you have to die. You have to die every day, which is very serious. And it hits him so hard, he actually backs up against the wall. And he's about to say whatever his reaction is, but then he pauses. He goes, first of all, terrific presentation. And it's like this, it's so funny, and it's like the character that he was before all this started, the media guy, the glad hander, all this kind of stuff. He just sells it, and it's so simple and little and funny, but even in this moment of like all this exposition, they still have characters that feel like real characters. And the way he just does his gesture, the whole thing, he's like, this is great work kind of vibe. It's like, it's so silly. I love it.
That is good. Okay, so I'm gonna do my recast. You want to hear my recast and director? Okay, so I have a choice, 2 directors that it could get. We could go with the Matthew Vaughn route, Kingsman, First Class, or here's one, Neil Blomkamp, District 9.
Sure.
All right, so here's the have
this movie. When I'm sorry I didn't see it in the theater. Certain movies you whether you hear about them or they're hyped or not or whatever, you go into the theater or you put them on your TV, and it just really surprises you. This is so good. This is maybe even so much better than I thought it was going to be. And the two movies that I think of most of the time, this is one of them, but the two movies I think of most are like, I remember seeing them in the theater and thinking, this is just so much better. I thought it'd be good, but it's so much better. Is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the first of that new trilogy, and Neil Blomkamp's District 9.
Yeah.
That movie blew us away when Kelly and I saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
We just were like, that looks cool. Look at the sci-fi. It's got aliens. It should be fun. And it was just so well done. And it was so well done, he's never been able to top it.
That's true. I think he could bring like a certain like almost like more of that almost documentary style to it, which could be really cool with a movie like this.
But even in District 9, if you remember, he does a lot of found footage type of stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
But it gradually turns into a really compellingly shot action movie.
Yeah.
So it becomes that style, appropriately so.
And
it has a great score.
So I have. I'll ask you, who do you think I might pick for the William Cage?
Oh, I think Morgan Freeman for sure.
Glenn Powell.
Well, it's funny you say that, since when Tom Cruise was coming up, there was an actor who kind of took him under his wing and sort of guided him and made that beginning of his career right, so that he could become Tom Cruise.
Was Morgan Freeman?
And that was Paul Newman. And Tom Cruise is now doing the same thing for Glenn Powell. But which I think is really interesting to watch him pay that forward in general. Mm-hmm. But that you would see that, like, Glenn Powell is that kind of charming, like Tom Cruise really may be the last movie star.
Well, him and Brad Pitt, I think.
Yeah, there are some people who you're like, if we ever have movie stars again, who's it going to be? And there are people who are really great actors, but Timothée Chalamet is not that kind of movie star. And he's more of he's an art house movie star. He's like Dustin Hoffman, or these people who do prestigious studio movies too. But Glenn Powell's is got that kind of vibe, and I like him in everything that I've seen. So that's a good guess.
So two options.
Maybe not Morgan Freeman then.
No, two options for Rita, Florence Pugh.
Sure.
Or out of the box option here, Zoe Kravitz.
I like her. I thought you were going to say Helen Mirren, but I like I like them both. I mean, the other thing with this movie is that I don't know. You certainly see some movies over your lifetime of watching movies where you go, well, that's the role that was just cast wrong, or that's the role where, I don't know, wasn't quite the right fit. Somebody could do it better. These two leads, I've no such compunctions.
Yeah,
even Brendan Gleeson's General, the way that he's quiet.
Yes.
And listens to the most ridiculous things, whether he's being threatened or he's being told what's basically the most nonsense sci-fi alien power fairy tale. He just sits there. It's great.
So you know who my choice for recast General Brigham? Giancarlo Esposito.
Well, I mean, he's good in everything, so sure.
That's good. And then for Master Sergeant Farrell, two options. J.K. Simmons, or he might be a little too old, or Josh Brolin.
Sure.
I think those are the two.
That's another one. That Bill Paxton shows up in that role, and he's just good. Right. He's just right.
It's so good because it's so different from his God, what's the character's name from Aliens?
Hudson.
All right. So, and then last question to wrap this up. Double feature. What's your thoughts?
I would go with Arrival.
Okay.
Arrival's one of my favorite movies ever.
Okay.
And I would like to. We could talk about that on a different episode. But that is also about an alien invasion. It's a very different kind of alien invasion, but in both movies you have to understand who the aliens are, what they're doing. In the case of Edge of Tomorrow, you have to understand why do they keep winning? What is their advantage? And in Arrival, you have to figure out what do they really want? What are they offering? And at a certain moment, or even more moments in Edge of Tomorrow, the characters have to believe something that is impossible or ridiculous. Like, you really are living this day over and over. And you can learn skills that you can take to the next loop. I don't know if he worked out when it got stronger, if that would happen over time, but his mind and who he is, he remembers it. And in Arrival, you have to almost take this chance that they're aliens and they're clearly technologically way beyond us, and they might not mean us harm, which is the opposite of, of course, the mimics in this movie. So I think those movies would be a nice pair. Plus, I love both of them.
Wait, you said The Arrival?
Not The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, but
No,
Arrival.
no, Arrival. I'm sorry, Arrival.
With Amy Adams.
But did you say another one?
Yeah, and Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh no, okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
the movie we're talking about.
No, I thought you said when you were saying those movies. I thought I was like, did I space out for a
No,
second?
no, those-
I got it.
If I talk and you space out, we should, I guess, hear that.
No. When you were saying those movies, and when you were saying that, I thought you had suggested another movie. I was like, did I miss him suggesting a second, like a triple feature?
Gotcha. Which I liked triple features too.
No, okay, so I have.
What do you have?
I have District 9.
Sure.
Because I mean that's like the exact opposite, where it's like they've been here for what's like almost like 28 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just kind of like occupied. It's like they're not fighting us. They're like I feel like it's like the exact opposite.
Well, it's also a much more political movie.
Sure.
Where it's a clear allegory and it's got a different agenda. But like this movie, the aliens are really alien.
Yeah,
They're really different, which makes it in Edge of Tomorrow makes them, I think, more frightening in general, but to the characters that they're fighting and generally beating. And in District 9, they basically are like insects. And that makes it harder for characters and probably people in the audience initially to have sympathy for them.
sure.
Until you meet the two main aliens.
I also if you were looking for a little more of the time looping, I did actually put Run Lola Run.
Sure.
That could be another option if you were looking to do that.
Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say about this movie, because it uses a storytelling thing that it's okay and it's common, but generally it ends up being kind of unsatisfying, and that's the hive mind. If we just kill this
F
one
you, dude.
leader,
I love the hive mind,
and that's
F
fine.
you.
I don't hate it, but like if you kill that one thing, that one signal, that one leader, it doesn't have to be characters. It could be like in that
favorites.
dreadful Rise of Skywalker. Like here's a bajillion enemy starships, but if we blow up one thing, then they'll all fail.
Oh,
that
okay,
kind of thing.
okay, all right. Hold up. I agree with you. That part of the hive mind, I don't like it when it's like. I don't that is a little bit of a cop out when it comes. I
Well,
like
you
the
just did it. My cat is called. You looked askance at her. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I will admit now I do like the hive mind, but I like the hive mind for the difficulty it presents. I don't like the hive mind for the ease that it would present itself in defeating. Oh, kill the hive,
Right.
kill like the queen or the master, and then everything else like that. I don't like that part of it. So that I'm on board with that.
And I don't hate that, but sometimes to me it seems like it's too easy. Even though it
No,
can be
that-
hard
that's-
to
that-
upload
that's-
your Apple virus
I
in
can-
Independence
I
Day or
don't.
kill the Night
Just-
King in Game
I
of
see-
Thrones or
I see-
yeah.
I see.
But I think
People don't. I just did a little thing that people will have no idea what I did. I just like talked in like half words to Drew. I sent Drew a meme that said to leave out your
your
formatted
Apple formatted floppy disks.
so you can upload them to the mothership
On July 4th, on Independence
or
Day.
actually July 3rd because you're leaving them out.
Oh, that's true.
It's-
You're
it's-
absolutely.
it's July 4th
I didn't
Eve.
grow up with Santa Claus, so I didn't remember that part of it. You got to leave the cookies out before.
Yes, you gotta leave it out before. So that was a yes, but I do agree with you as far as hive mind goes. I don't like it when it's like, oh, we take out one and voila, we're all done.
However,
that's lame.
it didn't bother me as much at all in this movie. The same way in other movies, it might not bother me for the reason I'm about to say.
Now I hate it.
I
hate the movie
don't.
now.
I don't.
F this movie.
I don't read the mimics that they encounter on the battlefield and the Alpha. I don't read them as aliens. Like when I watch
I
it,
thought you were gonna say you don't read. I was like, that's a shame.
I read it sometimes. I read them as alien machines. They're so different. They look like they're made of pieces of metal, all this other
so
stuff.
you
So
think
the
they
idea that
are-
there's a
that
control
there
center
actually might be aliens,
Right.
that
Like the
do not
Omega,
look
the
anything
Omega
like
might
them.
be a living
So
thing.
they're not the aliens.
Right. The
They
Omega might
are
be a living thing that controls
devices
this.
in the alien.
Yeah, they seem like
Gotcha.
machines. So for some reason that bothers me less, because it's like they literally say the alpha is essentially an antenna, which means they have a network to control them, to do everything. And if it's machines, that just seems like something machines could do. So it doesn't bother me as much. And it's not stupid like the Rise of Skywalker, because it just doesn't make sense that like they can't leave the clouds of the planet if the one thing doesn't work. Like it's all controlled from one place, which is poor planning, by the way, but it's all controlled from one place, from one thing.
Yeah.
And if you cut that connection, then they'll fall. And as soon as the Omega blows up, you see the Louvre gets hit with this big shockwave from where it was, and then all the mimics literally just like freeze, and all the color disappears from them and stuff.
Yeah.
So that didn't bother me as much.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for this episode of the Story Punk Podcast. And we will be back again very soon for another episode of wondrous knowledge to be imparted upon our adoring fans.
Well, at least we'll talk about movies. And now we'll go upstairs. We can have some waffles.
Awesome. Waffles.